Welcome back to Rudy's 1/6 World for episode 3 in our new figure showcase, where I'll be doing a slight unboxing slash review slash posing session with the newest addition to my collection. And today, we'll be looking at 3-Zero's 11 from Season 1 of Stranger Things. Now, thank you for bearing with me. I know these videos haven't been as frequent as I would have liked them to be, but honestly, I have a bunch of figures on pre-order and they're just taking forever to be released, as I know is the case for a lot of us. So jumping back to this figure and 3-Zero. I've always liked that 3-Zero has gone after some different licenses, carving their own little niche in the market. I mean, they've been doing great work with the Walking Dead license, although I lost interest in that series a while ago. But I can appreciate the quality of their work. I was also really impressed by the Rambo 3 figure. I think he looks amazing, and it shows how far 3-Zero has come. And to me, that is without a doubt the best Stallone sculpt we've gotten in the market right now. And 3-Zero has clearly also had their own pitfalls. The X-Files figures, for example, were a little bit of a weak effort. So I mention that because I was a little hesitant with jumping into this Stranger Things line. Like many people, I've totally loved the show and the characters, and this last season was really incredible. So I wanted to get the figures from the series, but with 3-Zero's history, I wasn't sure what we would be getting. And I have to say, overall, I'm really happy with the results. There are some things to watch out for that I hope 3-Zero addresses going forward, and I'll cover towards the end of the video. But before we do that, let's just look at 11. And she does feel like a unique release, given that we don't really get figures of kids from any of these companies. Now, she is a pretty straightforward release, although what else could she possibly come with, and what else could we really expect? Now, one thing that 3-Zero annoyingly doesn't provide are stands for your figures. Although they did offer one with a Demogorgon, probably due to the size and the need to provide some added stability. So 11 is a pretty stable figure and she stands well overall, but a stand would have been nice. As far as accessories, she comes with a whole set of interchangeable hands, including gripping hands for her waffles, posed hands for her telekinetic abilities, and a few fists. She also does come with 2 waffles, and while simple, they're really nicely textured, and the paint application has some nice gradation to it, so it's not just a hunk of yellow plastic shaped like a waffle. They actually made sure it looked pretty decent. And the last thing she comes with is a digital calculator wristwatch that's also really nicely detailed and has great paint applications for such a small accessory. So again, what we're getting here seems very basic, but it's really well done. And finally, she does come with a second outfit, which is her medical gown. So you can recreate her escape look from early in the first season, and after watching season 4, and warning, brief spoilers ahead, you can recreate her look from the flashback scenes where she takes on Vecna. And she does come with that second sculpt, we'll call it the battle damage sculpt, that goes along really well with it. The gown is really grimy and dirty, so clearly 11 has been through some things here, and I appreciate the weathering that we're seeing on the clothing. So speaking of sculpts, let's jump right in and take a look at those. And oh man, these were surprising. These are actually really great. I'm not sure if it's coming across the videos because some of the detailing is very subtle, and I'm trying to get a close-up, but man, if this is what we can expect from 3-Zero going forward, I'm sold and I'm in for the whole line. First of all, the likeness to 11 from season 1 is right there. Let's start with the eyes, which are the one slight drawback. They do have a high gloss paint app, but it's not the type we've seen with some of the more modern Hot Toys. In fact, it's actually more in line with the older Hot Toys figures, which isn't a bad thing here, but that's the only note on the eyes. Other than that, looking at the regular sculpt, the paint application is amazing, with there being some texture to the portraits and some very subtle paint applications for freckling around her face. It's really hard to see unless you've got the figure right in front of you. And even the eyelashes are meticulously painted on, and it just makes the figure look real. It's all, I keep saying the word, but it really is subtle paint that's done extremely well. So kudos to 3-Zero for that. Now let's look at the second battle damage sculpt with the nosebleed. And at first, I thought we were just getting a slight repaint, but again, what we're getting here is a very small change, but it's impactful. Her eyes, for example, are looking slightly upwards, so you have to lean her head forward a little bit, giving her a slightly more aggressive stance. And her forehead is slightly furrowed, so the sculpt will work if she's performing some of the telekinetic poses or taking on the Demogorgon. Also, the blood from her nose, it's a nice crimson, and it is a glossy paint around her nostrils, so it adds to that level of realism. So again, I didn't expect to be as impressed as I was with this figure. Now looking at her clothing, she comes with the blue jacket, pink dress, high socks, and a pair of sneakers. The jacket is a nice bright blue, very 80s, and I like what 30 did here with the tailoring. And I also do like that the elastic at her wrists and at the back of the jacket is actually real elastic. It's an elastic band. So it's just a really nice touch. Although I did notice that her movement for the arms is slightly restricted with the jacket on, and the dress on. So just I think the multiple layers do give you something that you have to kind of work with to get a pose. The pink dress is also straight from the show, so from a tailoring perspective, I think they did an amazing job recreating the details here. Now the sneakers also nicely done, and there is a grunginess to them, and the socks also look dirty. So again, right, going back to that weathering and making it look as real as possible, I think it's been done well. And for good measure, I did get her into the alternate clothing set, and it looks great, especially like I mentioned with the bloodied sculpt. There's definitely an intensity to this figure that 30 captured remarkably well. And one thing I noticed with the figure in the hospital gown is that 30 also actually included the 11 tattoo on her left wrist. So I really do appreciate when companies take that care and attention to detail. So as we look at some of the videos of the figure and some poses, I have to say, overall impressions, I'm impressed. It's a simple release and could have been phoned in, but 30 did a great job here, and I think they deserve credit for that. This looks like 11, and it's a great figure from the series. I did mention that there were some things to watch out for. And the first thing I'll notice happened when I was trying to swap out one of her hands. The wrist pegs are so tightly stuck on my version that I almost broke a peg, and it actually came apart. And unfortunately, the figure doesn't come with additional pegs, so that would have been a pain if I'd lost it. I was able to put it back together, but it also happened a second time afterwards, so you have to be careful with those pegs. Also, her jacket does have some strands of material that, are loose, and you'll see them in some of the videos. It's just, I have to cut them and just make sure they look good. It's not the end of the world, but does come across a little bit sloppy. The other thing I noticed as I was swapping the sculpts is the peg for the head feels like if you pull too hard, it comes off the main body. And she does have a slight muscle suit on, so it keeps the peg in place. But I'm just concerned that if you apply enough pressure, you could remove it completely. Although again, pushing back down, it does go back into position, but it's just something that potentially could impact the figure's longevity. So just be aware of that. Finally, I gotta say, the lack of a base. She's a kid, right? So, and she's a kid that's running around all the time on the show. So if you wanted to display her in a dynamic running pose, for example, she's not the type of figure that can stand on one foot easily. You'd need some kind of stand to do that. So it's a big shame that 30 didn't provide that here. But like I said, the positives here far outweigh the negatives, and I'm looking forward to seeing 30 continue with this line. Now, as I mentioned before, they already released Demogorgon, and I'm just waiting for a good deal to get him. And they have announced both Dustin and Lucas, both of which I do have on pre-order. The Dustin sculpt does look a little soft, but I'm hoping we get something on par with this 11, because 30 is showing what they're capable of here, and hopefully the same applies for Lucas, although he did look pretty decent in the promo pics. I'm hoping that they delve deeper in, giving us the rest of the kids. Obviously, there's Hopper, Joyce, Steve with his trusted bat, even Nancy from season 4 when they jump into the Upside Down, and let's not forget Max. So hopefully this line has a good ongoing presence, as after this release, I'm definitely in for the rest of the figures. And then creature-wise, I'm sure at some point they'll delve back in and give us a Vecna. Although that one might be just a little too much for me, and I'm not sure if I would make the effort to get that or want Vecna looking over my shoulder while I work. Final parting thought is this as good as Hot Toys? No, it's not at that level yet. But I would find it comparable to early Hot Toys releases, which is a good thing for 30 and hopefully a sign of things to come. So what do you think about 30's efforts here? Do you think they did a good job? What are you hoping to see from this line? Let me know what you think. And if you're enjoying the content, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll touch base on the next video.